just
right.
being able to track everything accurately, especially when you had so much paperwork with incoming materials and, search and traceability and everything, it really helps out on that side too. All
Mm.
the way from quoting to invoicing, it just completely made our whole operation much more efficient after everything was implemented.
Welcome to the Manufacturing Transformed podcast, where we dive deep into the world of manufacturing and uncover the transformational journeys of companies that are powered by ProShop. Get ready to explore the stories behind the machines, the people, and the innovation shaping the future of this industry. Welcome to Manufacturing Transformed. Real shops, real stories.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Manufacturing Transformed. I got to tell you, I am still in sort of awe and disbelief at this company that I have now interviewed twice, once on Machine Shop Mastery and now here on Manufacturing Transformed. So I got to sit down with Hunter Russell of Low Country Aerospace. And what I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and we dug into a little bit on the show, but I still don't think I've cracked the formula and really, truly understanding it. But this is a shop with about 38 people, about 13 pieces of NC equipment, like 8 mills, 2 waterjets, 2 routers, and a press brake, and ancillary hardware install and things of that nature, of course, as well. Full quality lab with like 2 or 3 CMMs, but they are pushing through about probably on the order of 12,000 or so work orders a year. We recorded this in late May. They'd already done more than 5,000 work orders in 2026. And when you crunch the numbers about the number of jobs you need to process on a daily basis across each machine, you're talking, and he candidly shared they have a single day shift. And so call it 12,000 work orders a year, call it 13 CNC machines. There's a little less than 1,000 work orders per machine per year. Now, that translates in a 20-day work month. Like there are just so many jobs flying through those machines that you absolutely have to have every step of it refined to an incredible degree. And clearly, Hunter is very kind in talking about how much ProShop has enabled them to streamline so many of their processes, get rid of the paper. They have sounds like an incredible team that just works so well, so efficiently, so hard. Yeah, those are numbers I'm still just trying to wrap my head around. So anyhow, it's a really fun conversation. I blabbered on too long already. Let's go get into it with Hunter. Hunter, welcome to Manufacturing Transformed. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so you and I were just talking. Your dad just did Machine Shop Mastery a few weeks ago and just came out recently. And boy, that was an awesome episode. Your dad is such a thoughtful guy, and just the way that he talked about the origin story and some of the struggles and the learnings that he's had. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So
Yep, it was a good episode.
yeah, you got a cool dad for sure.
Yeah.
Um, well, so tell us a little, for those that hadn't heard that episode, and I definitely recommend they go check it out. Tell us a little bit about Low Country Aerospace and how long you've been involved with it.
Yeah, so I started right out of college. I went to college for about a year, um,
Okay.
and it just wasn't something that I enjoyed doing. So I came down, started working for him, and I worked a little bit in high school after school,
Hmm.
and uh, it was probably he had 2 employees, I believe, when I started,
Okay.
and so it
Tiny.
was 4 of us total. We were in a 4,000 square foot building, and we were doing foam shadow kitting, and a bunch of resale items too. So we were supplying ground support equipment,
Hmm.
racks, shelving, um, some tables for our customers, just a lot of buying and just being the middleman for stuff.
Hmm.
Whatever we could get our hands on, really. Like you said, just saying yes to everything and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we started out there and then grew, and now we are a full machine shop. We do a high volume of sheet metal, milling, turning, and mechanical assemblies. We have a full quality department. We're primarily in the aerospace industry. We do some work for other industries, but it's few and far between right now.
Right. Aerospace is keeping you plenty busy, it sounds like.
It is, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Very good. And about how many people in the shop or on in the company?
I think we're right at 38, 37, 38.
Okay. All right. And do you guys share revenue numbers or not those?
Sure, we're on track to hit 10 million this year.
Wow. That's an amazing number for 38 people, I can tell you.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
pretty
including
exceptional.
both owners. So, if you take them
Okay.
out, then
Got it. Okay. Very good. And what makes your shop unique compared to other shops out there? There's so many machine shop and fab shops out in the industry. So,
yeah, for us, I mean, customer service really stands out. We have internal metrics for when our folks have to reply to customers, whether it's good or bad news. We always advertise that we're an open book and we allow any customers to ask any questions and see anything. Um, we're not hiding anything. We're not taking advantage of anyone. And we have an open door policy. Our customers are welcome to come by anytime and they're allowed to do a site tour anytime they want. We have nothing to hide and we keep our shop clean. So
yeah.
definitely customer support. And I mean, some of our capabilities, like there's not a ton of people out there that do high volume of sheet metal and water jets. I
Mhm.
mean, I guess in the aerospace industry there would be, but a lot of people lean towards lasers. So we do have that capacity, and we're going to continue adding on to that. We're not going to draw back on that at all. So I could see us having much more than two water jets in the next 5 years.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, a little later, I do wanna dig into your strategic use of water jet for cutting plate. I think that's absolutely fascinating. Um, but coming back to what you just said, I love the metric on responsiveness and response times. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I believe the metric internally is under an hour reply time for an update, and I think 4 hours to vendors. So we have a reply time for vendors too. We want everybody to be replied to within a day, regardless.
Okay.
But for customers, we want the quickest reply we can possibly get. Um, Even if it's, hey, I'm working on this, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Mhm.
Some type
Mhm.
of reply. It doesn't have to be a straightforward, exact answer that they're looking for, but at least they know that you received the email and that you're working on it. As far as
Wow.
quotes go, it's tough to put a metric on quotes because you can just get super backlogged or you can be wide open.
Yeah, yeah. How do you guys measure that response time?
Um, so a lot of our emails go through group emails
Okay.
that a lot of the leadership's on,
Mhm.
and we just measure it that way.
Okay.
We're pretty on
Yeah.
top of it. I mean, if we don't see a reply within an hour, we're going to
Right.
be
Yeah.
calling somebody or walking over to somebody's desk and asking them to reply. And it could be
Okay.
us too. I mean, we're guilty of
Sure.
it too, not replying in
Yeah.
time, and then somebody will come hold us accountable for it. So it's
That's
funny.
good.
Yeah,
Works both ways. That's
it
good.
does.
I love that metric though. It is such an important thing these days. People do want responsive communication. And I know just from experiencing it and hearing about it, sometimes a client will go a day or more without hearing from somebody, and that's just not acceptable these days. So
No,
good for
it's
you
not.
guys for setting that bar high. So let's go back, whatever, a few years now and talk about the growth that you were experiencing and sort of what was going on when you decided you needed some kind of different shop management software or tool to help organize things.
Yeah, so we were using a different ERP system, and I believe this was 3 years ago, roughly.
Hmm.
We used it from the beginning of the company until 3 years ago,
Okay.
and it worked well for certain things. I would say it worked decent for a job shop environment, but there was no type of uh I get so I should rewind. When in the beginning stages we would have a lot of sales orders and purchase orders that were connected because it was a
Mhm.
buy and ship to the customer. So this
Yep.
purchase order goes to the sales order. Well, there was no way to connect those two within the software, which just became an
Oh,
absolute
really?
nightmare. Yep, and we're not the most
Crazy.
organized guys either. We're so it's we rely on a lot of other folks for that. But it was a lot of trying to figure out where this purchase order goes to what sales order, and it's always, a year down the road when you're trying to figure that out. So,
Hmm.
that was one of the biggest issues, and then once we got into manufacturing, we had no idea what we were doing. We were just hiring people to help us figure that out, and once we did start to figure that out, we said, "Okay, this makes no sense. If we lose one piece of paper, we're running around the shop trying to find it." And especially, getting AS9100 and everything, there was no way that
Hmm.
we were gonna be able to keep up with that, in a truthful manner, at least. So,
Sure.
we had to find some kinda solution that would allow us to not have to rely on paper, and that
Hmm.
would allow more continuity between all the different attributes of the ERP.
Yeah.
So, we landed on ProShop. I mean, I've demoed several dozen softwares, especially with this one because we knew it was gonna be such a big change. We had
Hmm.
probably had 12 to 15 and probably 15 employees when we began looking at ProShop, and we
Okay.
just knew what kind of onboarding that would be, especially trying to get everybody on board with it.
Right. And so you've gone from 15 or so to 38 in the last 3 years.
I believe so. I could be speaking out of turn there, but, it may have been 20, but
Right.
it
That
was
are
ri it
around.
was enough people to be worried about the backlash of implementing a new ERP system.
Yeah. No matter what size you are, it's a massive change to everything that everyone is doing every day. Like
Mhm.
it's like the ultimate "who moved my cheese?"
Yeah,
People are used to doing something for years. Yeah, it can be disruptive.
especially when most of the folks that we hired came in and kind of mastered the ERP much better than we knew it.
Got
So
it.
they spent a lot of time on it and then trying to get them to get on board with another software, which
Hmm.
they did the same thing for. Once they get on board, they master that and they're great at it, and then they end up being better than we are at it.
Right. That's a sign of having good people. You chose well.
Yeah.
So what was that process like? To introduce it to them, to get them trained, to get them comfortable, or listen to their concerns or fears about the change.
Yeah. So having those two different types of people, um, you really have to figure out how to bring them together. And I mean, really, what is best is giving them the software and just starting fresh. At least for us, it was starting fresh with all the new orders and letting them
Hmm.
figure out how to process them. Of course, helping, but sometimes help is just getting in the way. So letting them do it and figure it out as they go, and then leaning onto the training and the hours that we still have available
Yep.
with the ERP and ProShop, and so that's what we did, and it turned out great. Of course, there were hiccups along the way, but overall, it was fairly smooth.
Cool. And as you did all that due diligence and research on all the different systems, what was it that stuck out to you for why you chose us?
Definitely the paperless portion of it.
Hmm.
Um, Being able to not lose a piece of paper and know where a work order's at in live time was a great feature. Um, Being able to update our customers very fast was also one of the biggest. Not
Yeah.
having to chase things down and figure out if it's at outside processing or where it's at. Eliminating spreadsheets was huge. Um, and tracking employees' time on
Hmm.
jobs and getting real metrics on run times and setup times.
Hmm.
So then we're able to be more accurate on our estimates and update part levels. And so that was
Yeah.
huge too. Once we really started to utilize that, we saw the ROI very quickly.
Nice. Yeah. Especially with that metric of yours of, super fast responsiveness, not having to literally go chase down a paper traveler and figure out where a job is at or what's happening to it. That's got to have improved that metric for you.
Yeah, because I mean, I would always walk into whether it be a customer or vendor or wherever and ask them, where something is or whatever the case was, and they would look on their computer and tell me. And I was
Hmm.
just always like, man, how did they do that? Because we cannot do that. So figuring out how to do that is what we did, and it worked out.
That's funny. Um, so you mentioned spreadsheets. Getting rid of spreadsheets is always good. What other systems or little softwares were you guys using to run things? So you were previously already AS9100 certified, is that right?
We were, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you must have had something for managing your QMS too.
It was just all done. We built an internal QMS system, so we
Okay.
just did it on Word documents and turned them into
Right.
PDFs. So it was stored in our on-premise server.
Right. Okay. Um, yeah, and I know how cumbersome those can turn into when you're just searching through file folders looking for things.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah.
um, once you really started getting into the training and started sort of going live, was there uh, anything in particular that really just stuck out to you that wow, this is going to make a really big difference? Was it what you were expecting? You know, the paperless aspect or anything different?
Yeah, I think every time we learned more about the software beyond what we learned in the demo, we started to see the benefit of it and what we could use to just increase what we were currently doing. Um, so, being able, I mean, a huge thing for us was being able to put items in the BOM that are purchased for that job and see where they were purchased from and what purchase order they're linked to.
Hmm.
For us, that was huge coming from
This seems so simple.
so simple, and I could never understand why another software wouldn't do it, or the one that we were using.
Right.
Um, and so, I mean, that alone made us extremely happy. But just
Right.
being able to track everything accurately, especially when you had so much paperwork with incoming materials and search and traceability and everything, it really helps out on that side too. All
Mm,
the way from quoting to invoicing, it just completely made our whole operation much more efficient after everything was implemented.
okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. Um, and one of the things that struck me when I was visiting your shop a couple months ago was the just absolute insane volume of jobs you guys do. So maybe talk a little bit about. I think you had said in 2025 you did something like 7,000 work orders, and you were already on track for doing like over 1,000 a month this year in 26. Um, so maybe on track for 12,000 or so work orders this year. Just maybe talk a little bit about that. Have you guys always been sort of high volume, low quantity, quick turn? And how are you? What was the volume like back when you were on paper, and what's sort of translated into your ability to scale and do more of jobs now that the paper's gone?
Yeah, so I think when we started, when we were on paper, we were vendor of record for this particular customer, our largest customer. We were vendor of record for, I believe, 150 to 200 parts, and now it's 1,800 to 2,000, um, and that's for repeat parts. So all new parts
Okay.
also add to that. Um, but yeah, so the work orders were drastically less. I would say they were in the 2,000 to 3,000 range per
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely jumped up a lot. We we were on track to do 12,000 this year. I think we probably slowed down just a little bit, but I think we're right at 5,000 right now. So I
In the
could
middle of in near the end of May. So
yeah, I could definitely pull up a new work order and see what the number is, but it's up there. And
well, that's still going to be on track for something close to 12 this year if you
it
keep it up the pace.
yeah, it'll be close. Yeah, we've outsold last year, so it's going to be close, at
For
least
you.
month to month. So
Yeah.
um, it's a lot to manage, but with ProShop, I mean, it makes it a lot easier, especially when you have people dedicated to scheduling and they can organize the machine schedules correctly. It makes the operators have a pretty easy way to find what the next job
Mhm.
is that they're working on.
Mhm.
So they just work top to bottom on the machine schedule,
Right.
and eh, we don't have any issues doing it that way. Um, it makes things a lot easier, and they know exactly where to take it after that operation because
Mhm.
the next operation's right behind it. I mean, it's clearly laid out in front of
Right.
your face.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the best way that I don't think we could manage it with any other software that I know of. So ProShop being our tool for that is really useful.
Mhm. Yeah, so when I visited and I took this we did a shop tour video. Thank you for that. I shared a picture on LinkedIn about just a picture of one of your houses with the like job rack to the left, machine right in the middle, and the sort of workstation computers on the right. And, you had been sharing that, each job has the material for that job on, I think it was maybe like 3 racks or 4 racks. And, with just the very simple job traveler, basically just the job label of which work order number it is. Do you have people that go put put that material on those racks for the machinists? Or are they needing to, go grab it and put it in their queue? So you kind of have the digital matching the physical right there at each machine.
Yeah, so the um the water jet has a machine schedule as well, so they know what billets to cut, and they'll combine alike materials.
Hmm.
So they can cut, 2-inch plate, all the work orders for it at the same time, and then they take all those work orders and put them on the rack for the dedicated machine.
Oh,
So
they
if
do that.
it's yep,
Okay.
so if it's,
So they can see
well,
where
it
it's going
depends.
next.
They usually do it if it's during the day, but if they cut a bunch and they just don't have the time to do it, the production manager will walk through and organize some of that stuff for them too.
Got it.
But the schedulers will put everything in place, so obviously some of the stuff, if it is a traveler that's 2 months out, then that work order is gonna go to the bottom of the rack and the bottom of the machine schedule in the mill. Um, but yeah, the water jet operators typically are the ones that take them over there and put them on the rack.
Okay. And so they just look at the work order, they just cut and just see what machine is next, and that's where they just go stick it.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
All the machines are
Well,
labeled.
right.
So we don't have a ton of machines, but 3 VF4s, so there's 1, 2, 3.
Got it. And then you have your UMCs.
Yeah.
And so how many CNC machines in total? I don't remember exactly.
Um, for just mills and lathes, we have 8,
Okay.
and then 2 water jets, 2 routers, press
Right.
brake, and then all of our
Yeah.
quality equipment.
Yeah. Gosh, that's even more astounding than the volume of jobs you do with 12 machines or whatever,
Yeah, 13, yep. It's,
Yeah, that's
just on
really
1
something
shift too,
else. Gosh, that's amazing.
but there is a weekend
Um,
shift coming, so
that's
it's hard
good.
to
I'm
keep
sure
up with
it'll relieve some
12,000 work
pressure.
orders.
I'm sure it'll relieve some pressure.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think, when I shared that post about the volume that you do, and just, there was a lot of people that were interested in asking questions about it. Like, what do you think is the secret sauce to being able to just throughput that ma- vast volume of work? And I know, going into your QA lab too, that you have to do first articles on many of those, most of those. Yeah, just describe what do you think that's like? Because it's a different, it's very different in many other shops. They're not doing nearly that kind of volume.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that you have to have people that care. Um, a good team that can always have the attitude of teamwork no matter what. So they can come together and work as a team, and uh, when help's needed, they step in and help. So having people that truly care versus just show up for a paycheck is a really big deal, and you're not getting out a high volume of work orders without that.
Hmm.
So all the credit goes to the team for sure.
That's good. That's good. That's good credit. Good place to give credit. Um, Now, I will say you can have excellent people and give them a crappy system to work in, and there's just like logistical roadblocks in their way, and they're going to do their darndest and chip in and help out and be cheerful and, teamwork and all that. But I think the systems they're using do matter as well, and probably matters too that they um, appreciate having good tools to do their job, and they're not just constant roadblocks or challenges at every turn.
Yeah, definitely. We probably say yes too much, but anything that the people on the floor need or anything that the team needs, we provide rather quickly. So we don't want anything to hold up production. So even if it's something just to better the thing that they're doing for their particular machine. If it's a better type of sandpaper for deburr, um,
Mm,
or a better dead blow for the machine because maybe it's just a fancier one and that's what they want. But
right.
if it makes them a little bit happier and it does something a little bit faster, we'll get it. But yeah, definitely the tools that they have and that they ask for, and like I said in the beginning, I mean, they are the pros. We still don't know that much about machining. We could have been fooled the whole time, but it seems that we haven't. So
It's
that's
awesome.
also the good thing is that they give us the ideas, we run with them, and they end up working out.
Hmm. Well, one of the most poignant things your dad said on his show was that, he was doing a lot, carrying a lot on his shoulders, and he had a realization through his mentor that he needed to let go. He needed to let the team, own things and run with it and trust their expertise. And when he went through an intentional process to do that, I think he said it was only like 3 or 4 months later, it just started shedding all this weight off him. And I got to imagine that also empowered the team that, he and you and the leadership were trusting them to, with the results. And does that does that resonate? Does that sound like that, when you trust them, when you give them autonomy, when you give them good tools, be a resource for them, that they're going to flourish and do great work?
Yeah, it definitely works out that way. At least it has for us. But of course, you're going to have people that take advantage of it.
Hmm.
Um, but I would say that we give them a good bit of freedom. We don't micromanage anybody. It's maybe sometimes a little too laissez-faire, but it is. We're of course over time you have to tighten that down a little bit, just because of the people that do come in and take advantage of it. But yeah, I think if you let people run free with their ideas and they feel like they have that they're comfortable enough to speak up in front of you and provide ideas and be open, I think that's huge because a a lot of people are a lot smarter than maybe they were given credit for in the past.
Right.
Um, and if you can kind of bring that out of them, you can do pretty cool things.
That's a good quote to take down. Yeah. Um, well, clearly you guys have a good formula going. I love it. Um, I love it. So I want to go back and talk a little bit more about this kind of shift from paper based to digital. Clearly, that starts in the office when maybe maybe you could describe what your process was like. But typically, customer purchase order comes in, whoever receives that prints it out, and I don't know, starts handing it around to people to review or do their portion of it as they're creating work orders and buying materials and getting things done in the office before it actually heads out to programming in the shop. Can you maybe just describe what that process used to be like for you?
Yeah, a lot of email traffic and a lot of paper, like you said. Writing stuff down. That's what me and my dad are terrible about. If it was up to us for file management and putting the correct data into the ERP system, it would be total chaos. Um, so we would write stuff down on a piece of paper, lose it, and nobody would be able to find it. So once we started hiring those folks, that most of them are still with us today. Once we before we started implementing ProShop, but
Hmm.
they really started getting organized, and they would have a process about how they would process those orders. I mean, yeah, of course, we would have to sign the customer PO, scan it back, and then send out all of our RFQs
Hmm.
to get our material in and everything. And if we didn't have much stock, so we would be buying stuff from the master or MSC. And then once we started going to local suppliers, we would buy billets because we didn't have time on the waterjet to cut billets. So it was a lot. It was a lot of back and forth and losing things, having to redo jobs because we just couldn't find the paperwork or the certs for the material.
Oh man,
Um,
that's a tough one.
yeah, it was pretty bad. And now it's just seamless. I mean, it's just as easy as it could be. And now we do the majority of it in the estimating portion. So we, by the time it gets to planning and we get a customer PO, everything's taken care of and it's in the job.
Got it. Okay. So you kind of shifted some of that planning work or pre-planning work into estimating, having that material pricing, having whatever your routing operations defined of how this
Right.
job's going to run. Now that begs the question then, I don't know what percentage of your jobs that you win that you quote, but for some people they'd say, well, that means you're doing a bunch of work on things you're never going to win. So how do you strike that balance?
Well, we win anywhere from 50 to 65%. Um, and
That's a
we'll fluctuate that number throughout the year. So,
mhm,
we'll start at where what we think is competitive, and we'll get up to about 75%, and then we'll
mhm.
try to get it down to 30, and then we'll try to go back to where it's at 50. And that's
Wow.
assuming that you get a lot of bids coming in every week, which we do.
Mhm, mhm.
And what that allows you to do is kind of understand if the person awarding those estimates, because you can only define, or at least for us, we can only define competition by what we're being awarded.
Right.
So if we drop down to that 30%, then we can see if they're awarding it because of low price, high price, or if they're just telling us that. Because they'll give us feedback, it was high, it was low, but they're buyers. They have to look out for the company's best interest too.
Of course.
So it just allows you to kind of see where that middle mark is over time. And
Hmm.
50% is where we like to stay.
Okay. But you strategically kind of adjust your margin to play with that award number to keep your shop full enough with work, but at a good margin that'll, yeah, result in having a profit?
Right. We do have a baseline that we won't go under. Um,
Okay.
and also, it is an estimate, so you could run it faster. Maybe we'll quote a
Sure.
little
It's
higher,
always an
but
estimate. Yep.
yeah, so there's always luck that goes into it. If you're like, every now and then we'll quote a job that we really want to win at a lower margin than we would normally go, and then we'll just try to figure out a way to improve the process on it.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, for the most part, we just have a baseline we don't go under for an hourly rate
Okay.
and a profit markup.
Okay. Interesting. And how many people do you have doing estimating? Or maybe, I mean, I guess maybe explain your process. In some shops, one person does it all. And then other shops, you have your person doing your cycle times and your setups, and you have other people getting material prices and outside processing. So, kind of what does that teamwork look like to create those?
Yeah, so we have spreadsheets for at least for all of our outside processing that our vendors supply. So they'll give us
Okay.
standard pricing for different sizes, different types of processes. So we just base it off of that for part size, and it's pretty accurate. And we spread
Okay.
that across our estimates rather than just putting the full cost in an estimate because we know that we're going to group things together and hit the lot fee anyway. Uh,
Got it.
so we spread that cost across. There's one person to answer the question that does the estimating, and she just happens to be extremely good at what she does. Um, we are
Wow.
looking to add another person, but it's a little cumbersome to train junior
Hmm.
people that don't know anything about it because she doesn't know anything about machining. So she'll send um, messages to our programmer to get times on programming and machine runtime.
Hmm.
Um, and then she'll go to quality if she sees any type of large quality issues. So we also have a risk system, so of course,
Yeah.
and we have to rank things low, medium, high. And if
Hmm.
it's going to be medium or high, she goes to quality for it. Low, she doesn't. So
Okay.
they're involved in a lot of it. And then engineering, she can send models to engineering if she can't interpret it fully.
Hmm.
So it's a full team effort, but she's able to handle the majority of the parts that come through.
Wow. That's impressive. Very cool. So, just to go back to what you said about outside processing. So it sounds like send you have your outside processing suppliers send you kind of their parameters. Like if you have a part that's this much length or this size or this much surface area, then it's going to be approximately this much in anodizing cost or chem film or whatever, and then you can extrapolate that, so you don't have to go get specific pricing on every single job that comes through.
Yep, that's right. The only thing that we get specific pricing on is, of course, if it's a process that we don't do often and if it's an expedite, just to
Got
get
it.
the expedite fee. But
Right.
yeah, and we spread that cost out across all the estimates so that we actually just we'll put a per piece price based on that spreadsheet from the vendor.
Hmm.
But for the lot fee, we put a flat fee on every single estimate, and it's a much lower. It's like 10% of the lot fee, but we know that we're going to hit it, so it works out.
Okay, so you're counting on the fact that you're going to send multiple work orders all together, hit that lot charge, but you might send 10 jobs in that shipment.
That's right.
So each only is burdened with a 10% of a lot charge.
Yep.
That's and I guess you do such a volume that you can trust the fact that you're almost guaranteed to have a bunch of other work orders to send with it.
Y-
It's not like you might be slow and this one job is going to end up getting its own lot charge all by itself and you're going to be, 10x what you estimated.
Yeah, I don't know the last time somebody came up and said, "We're not hitting a lot charge. This is a very expensive lot fee."
Right.
So we're definitely hitting it all the time.
Huh. I like that. That's a good takeaway for people. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I know that, you know, at our shop, we would often quote a full lot charge just for a small job. And we assumed that hopefully that we'd pair it up with something else, but we put the full lot charge on our quote, assuming that it had to carry its own cost if that's what happened. But the way you're doing it and the volume of work you do just makes you more competitive. You're more likely to win that job. Your out of pocket cost of the vendor is not going to be higher. You're pretty certain of that. So it seems like it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, I mean, the competitiveness, it can be a little tricky just because there are some folks that do have their own outside processing, and we don't,
No
just because it's
in-house.
such a lengthy setup with our customer.
Got it.
So we don't have that. If we did, we'd be much more competitive and our lead times would be much quicker. So that's, of course, something you have to deal with. But
I mean, if you're already trying to win around 50% of your work, that means you're quite competitive. So, that's a better win rate than many shops.
yep.
So, I think typical is more in the like 25 to 30% range. So,
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
of course, the relationships and trust mean a lot too, and the partnerships with the customer.
absolutely. Sure.
They may not always go based on price, knowing that they'll rely on you,
Yeah.
and that
Do you
when they
guys
pick
have,
up and call, you'll answer
yeah, yeah, in an hour.
in an hour.
Um, do you guys have generally pretty quick lead times?
No, our standard lead time is 6 to 8 weeks, but
Okay.
processing typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. So
Okay.
for a part that's not processed, we usually stick to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, of course,
Hmm.
depending on the quantities and everything else. But um, it- we could get a lot quicker, especially once we implement the weekend shift. We can drop that down a little bit,
Hmm.
but with processing being such a burden, there's
Right.
not too much that's within our control.
Okay. So if the total processing time is 4 to 6 weeks, and when you say processing, do you mean from the time you like start cutting it on the water jet before you actually are ready to ship it to your customer? Is that the processing time you mean?
Oh no,
Or
I just
just
mean
just the outside
yeah,
processors?
just the outside processing time. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I do wanna
There's a lot
clarify that's they have to be on the customer's approved supplier list.
of
So,
course.
I don't
That
want
makes
people to
sense.
see this and then start reaching out saying they can do it in a week because there's plenty of people that have much quicker lead times, but
Right.
unfortunately, they're not approved.
Not on the ASL. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your average lead time is 8 weeks, 2 months, 2 months, and you're doing the volume of work orders you do, you must have between 1,000 and 2,000 active work orders at all times. Does that seem about right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, 2 months worth of work orders at,
definitely.
yeah.
I was trying to think how much we have daily delivery reports and everything,
Hmm.
and it's a long list.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be sometimes we deliver 100, 200 POs in a week, maybe 300,
Hmm.
and those are, of course, containing several line items each.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, in order to do that volume, you have to shrink the actual sort of touch time, for everything you do down to a very small degree, right? Like preparing an FAI, creating a packing slip, creating, who know the CFC. I mean, just all these little things that maybe did take longer in the past. Um, you can't be spending an hour on each one or even 10 minutes. It's got to be like 30 seconds worth or a minute or a couple minutes, or else it's just going to bottleneck the whole system.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, um, the training aspect for people to understand ProShop when they've never came from it is something that we probably spend the most time on.
Hmm.
So them understanding how everything works, even if it's something that they don't necessarily use in their day to day, is super important. Because, like you said, the touch time, and we don't want them to get to a stopping point and it be the software that they can't figure out
Hmm.
or the process that they don't know. So, a lot of training behind that, and then the parts will flow through from there.
Yeah. No, that's really important. That's good. I like that. Um, hmm. Sometimes I ask people if the change, the change in their business, getting rid of the paper, has caused less stress in their work or less hours. I imagine you guys are just hitting pedal to metal even harder and growing. So you're still probably working crazy hours. But has anything shifted for you in that realm? Just, the, I don't know, the firefighting that are caused by paper, old, better, not as good systems, or anything in that realm that resonates?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because everything's set up so well on the front. I say front side, meaning, admin side, for the jobs that nobody, I mean, of course, people are upfront all the time asking questions, maybe about a work order, but it's just something they might not understand because they're newer. But for the most part, everything just flows through how it's supposed to go. And that kind of leads to you have a Monday morning meeting or a production meeting, and like, okay, well, we don't have that much to cover. I mean, I hate to say there's not that many problems, but there's not. That of course is great because it gives us the ability to focus on new processes and how to improve things rather than just put out fires all the time.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of that also is the risk portion of the estimating. So bringing in things that we know we can thrive at and that we have no issue running. I always said that, 90% of the stress comes from 10% of the work or less. So it was always the
Hmm.
2 or 3 parts or 10 parts that you spent months trying to figure out and problem solve that caused all the problems, stress, you know, took a turn in the culture, and it people were getting in arguments, and, it's just that's the biggest fires that we always had to put out was problems with parts because we should have never quoted it. So putting
Hmm.
that risk in place and the process for that has really helped a lot. So we know that any part that comes through the door, 99% of parts that come through the door are not gonna have a problem being manufactured.
That's the mic drop of the whole episode right there. That is such a foundational component that many shops don't heed as much, and they quote things that they have no business doing, and I think it's often because they're not busy enough. They don't have enough what I call positive sales pressure. And so to keep their spindles turning, they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll take this weird titanium thing, but we're not good at titanium, or this big
Yeah.
flat thing and we're not very good at flat parts, but we'll figure it out." And then like you said, it's that it's 5% or less of jobs that just cause the biggest amount of stress. And what you're describing is that if you have that, that risk-based thinking, and you've, you know, got great relationships with your customers because you serve them so well that they're constantly sending you RFQs, so you have plenty of sales pressure, which means you can be selective, you can not take the riskiest jobs, and then everything flows through that 99% that's just gonna like it's on rails. And that just sort of compounds to allow you to execute on those jobs really well, deliver constantly, consistently for your customers, and it's like a positive flywheel. I mean, does that feel like that's what's happening there at Low Country?
It does, and on top of that, um trying to stock as much as you can fit, for us, as much as we can fit into our warehouse of materials. So every single job coming in is gonna have material for it. Of course, that's checked in planning before it even hits the floor. But if anything were to happen, there's scrap that happens, that you have the material for it, and everybody knows it really well. The
Mhm.
machinists know it really well. They know how to work with this material well. Um, we know we don't have a problem cutting it. We don't have a problem forming it. Um, so having the standard materials, standard parts that you like to run, and then just that risk is huge for
Mhm.
us. I mean,
Mhm.
we don't like parts coming in that we don't know how to do.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Nobody likes
No.
it.
No shop does. Um, yeah, and so, just thinking through the tour of your shop, you had that, like, sheet stock area, which was vertical racks of lots of different thicknesses and alloys of material, so you could just grab those and throw it on the water jet or the router, and then in your plate area, you had, yeah, just all different thicknesses of different alloys of aluminum, and maybe just talk about your how you think about buying plate and cutting billets on the water jet versus buying cut plate from a vendor with a big plate saw. The lead time, the cost, the whatever, not as much flexibility. Just maybe share a little bit about your thinking there.
Yeah, so for us, wherever a job fits into the schedule, we don't have that much time to waste on material. Like when a job comes in, we have to run it rather quickly, within a week or 2 weeks. So material lead time is a huge issue, but cost is also it's much cheaper to buy plate than it is billet. So we buy, I believe it's a 48 by 144 plate of
Mhm.
every size up to 2 inch. So from quarter-inch to 2 inch for aluminum plate.
And like
Um,
quarter-inch increments or eighth-inch increments
no, it's larger than that. It's
or half?
No, it is quarter-inch. Yeah, it's quarter-inch increments.
Okay.
And then we just cut the plate down and we put it on pallet racks. And when billets come through, we cut them that way. And another reason for that is just saving time. I mean, scrap's huge. If our scrap rate's really low, but in the cases that we do have scrap, we can turn around and cut a piece quickly and get it back on the machine.
Mhm.
It doesn't interrupt production for too long, so that's also a nice plus. I mean, I'm sure you saw it when you were there, but we have a whole entire rack that is just full of billets, and it's
Mhm.
stuff that we didn't scrap,
Yeah.
and it's setup pieces because we always give a setup piece for our first part, and any repeat parts we don't give setup pieces for. So that's just setup pieces that were never scrapped, and we have way too many of them. So we also pull from that as well, which saves us from buying material all the time.
Sure, sure. Um, what do you think is your secret to having such low scrap?
Good machinists, good programmers. I mean, I'm not sure what else. They have the tools they need there in front of them. Um, we provide all the tools they need too. I'm not a machinist,
Mhm.
so I have no idea what makes a really good machinist better than a really bad machinist. All I know is that they really take pride in it and they are very good at what they do. So we would always just hire machinists and not operators, or button pushers. Of
Mm,
course, as you grow, you have to get out of that a little bit, once you get to a certain amount of employees, but we're still at the point where we're hiring machinists only. So we want to trust, since there's so many different setups, we want to trust the person running one, two, three machines that they can set up all those machines and run them as well.
mhm,
And
mhm.
we do, and we don't crash machines often at all. And scrap rate's very low.
Yeah, I that's great, and I gotta believe it also comes down to what we talked about just a few minutes ago, where you already know the risk is low because these parts are right in your wheelhouse. You know you're good at those kind of parts, and your guys probably have great templates and processes of making parts with different shapes or geometries or features that are similar to parts they've made many times before. And when they're not reinventing the wheel on work holding or whatever, then they can just have high confidence that that first part off is going to be a good part. and and that also means speed, right? When you're not scrapping something very often, because that's going to slow down your setup and maybe cut a new piece or what have you. But I'm sure it all just kind of feeds together in this like massive speed engine that you guys have built.
Yeah, it works out really well, and also back to the teamwork thing, we allow I'm sure a lot of shops are like this, but we allow the machinist to go to the programmer and go into his office, and they, you know, tell him things all the time about, "Hey, I think we could speed this up here," or,
Hmm.
"I think, this would be a better tool for this material or this certain profile or feature."
Yeah.
Um, so they're in there every day, and of course, he does what makes sense. If it's gonna
Hmm.
speed it up, he changes the program and gives them that confidence that their voice is heard and
Hmm.
that they're right, and that it is gonna improve the process.
That's good teamwork. Do you have multiple programmers?
We have 2 that can program, so one helps out when the main programmer is backlogged, but
Okay.
it's pretty rare that he's backlogged.
Just the things you guys are saying just don't compute. Your programmer's not backlogged when you're doing a 12,000 work orders a year.
Yeah.
It
Oh, I
is
mean,
wild. I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm sure
that
you have repeat jobs where it's already programmed from last time and you just run it again. What percentage of your jobs are repeat versus brand new?
it's I'm not sure. I would say probably 60% are repeat.
Okay.
And the only reason they wouldn't be repeat if it was a legacy part or legacy aircraft. It's
Mhm.
not like they gave it to someone else. We are vendor of
Right.
record on that part, so we would get it. Um, but and the majority of our volume would definitely come from the sheet metal side. But there is a lot of parts that come out of the machine shop,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's still programming. I mean, you're definitely right. Thousands of work orders a year, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he's just very good.
And then you have different folks that program the water jet and the laser or the routers, CNC routers.
That's right. So the other programmer programs the router, and
Okay.
but he's an engineer, so he does a lot of modeling for ground support equipment that we do and
Mm,
fabrication jobs. Um, but the water jet
okay.
operators program the water jets. It's pretty simple 2D stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I love it. It's so cool. Uh, I guess as we start to kind of wrap up here, what do you feel like are some of the just best decisions, you and your dad have made as you've grown this business? What yeah, to have it be so successful today?
I think hiring the right people, putting them in the right places is very important. Um, Letting people have their voice be heard, um, having great partnerships with both customers and suppliers,
Hmm.
I think is very important. Of course, choosing the right ERP is the heartbeat of the business. So definitely those things, and just having trust in your people and trying to kind of lead everybody in that same direction. And it's a difficult business. I mean,
Oh, it's the
there's
hardest. Yeah.
challenges all the time, especially, it can sometimes feel stagnant. So you don't really know where to go and how to grow and where to grow. And um, so, yeah, it's not the easiest business to be in, but it's definitely fun.
Doesn't get boring, I'm sure.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's great. So this show is called Manufacturing Transformed, and we hope that we, you know, can authentically tell the story of a real transformation. Do you feel like ProShop has been a part of helping Low Country Aerospace to really transform how it does its business?
Yeah, absolutely. We would not be where we are today without ProShop by any means. Um, I have the confidence that, that I have no reservations that this is a ERP you can use with several hundred employees. Um, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it when you have that many people, but we would. It's not like it's just for small shops or smaller mid-sized shops. I think this is definitely a ERP we would grow with for years to come, and the support's great too. Um,
Mm,
that's one of the biggest things that I found frustrating with other ERP softwares was just support was terrible. They're
mm.
either in another country or it takes 3 days to respond, and,
And
so having being able to live chat with somebody or even the AI tool is helpful. Um,
mhm,
but yeah, ProShop's a huge part of our success and how much we've grown over the past 3 years.
that's awesome. Yeah, I know our support team, speaking of, getting great people, putting them in a role, letting them, uh, do their job well. We have an amazing support team, and they truly, truly care. So that's great to have you say that. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just in a meeting with, Malcolm
Oh yeah,
3 hours ago, so
nice. Malcolm is awesome.
yeah.
Um, Last question: if you could imagine what Low Country would look like today if you had not made the switch, you were still running on your old system, what would it look like?
A really large stack of papers. It'd probably be 0 employees and out of business because it would be almost impossible to keep up with that much paperwork and not
Mm,
have people get so frustrated that they don't leave.
mm,
Um, but, realistically, I think that the growth would just be much less. I think we would be at a lesser point. We wouldn't be able to keep up with the volume that we do now.
mhm,
The way that it flows through the shop just wouldn't work. So, yeah, I just don't think it would be I think we'd probably be in the same place we were 3 years ago.
mm. Okay. So it really has been a a lever for allowing you to grow faster, sounds
Yeah,
like.
definitely. The live updates and everything is wonderful, and it really does help. And I'm sure I mean, there's other softwares that do live updates, but there's a lot of features I like about ProShop that stood out and just have helped us grow.
Well, it's a true honor to help an amazing shop like yourselves. So appreciate the trust and the partnership, and for you being on the show,
Yeah,
and to your dad for doing Machine Shop Mastery. So you guys are dropping a lot of knowledge bombs on the industry this month.
we're just
So if
trying
you
to figure it out.
Oh, you're doing great. I mean, I love the fact that you're both not machinists and that you have, a business that's growing this much and is this successful. It just proves that you don't have to be a technical, machinist person to run a machine shop. In fact, it may be a detriment because you then get probably sucked into the details that you don't really it's not where you should be spending your time. You should be working on the business and the growth of the business, and clearly you guys are doing that.
Yeah, my dad asked me probably 4 or 5 years ago if he's like, "Hey, you should learn how to run the machine." And I was like, "I'm not gonna do that. There's no way, because I know what's gonna happen, I'm gonna be out there on the floor all the time. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm when things go south or if somebody quits, whatever the case is, I'm gonna have to go out there and run the machine all the time. It's gonna take focus away from other things. So I just knew it wasn't gonna be a great idea if we wanted this thing to go in a different direction.
Hmm. No, it's wise. Yeah, it's absolutely that happens all the time. So good for you. Um, all right. Well, if people want to learn more about Low Country, take advantage of your exceptional customer service, where would you direct them?
They can reach out to sales@lowcountryaerospace.com,
Hmm.
or they can find us on our website, www.lowcountryaerospace.com,
Cool.
or they can give our office a call.
Okay. I'm sure they can easily find that on your website as well. So, Hunter, thank you very much for this time. Again, thanks for the partnership and trust with ProShop, and it's truly cool to watch you guys thrive and grow and do your thing. So, yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks for
letting us be
having
a
me.
part of it. You bet.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
All right, see you around.
All
Take
right,
care.
take care.